What's up, guys? Welcome to your 149th Android tutorial for the new Boston. What we're going to do in this tutorial is basically read our code from our buffered reader. And we set up again our input stream reader within our buffered reader, and last tutorial took out that parentheses, but you still want that one in there. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to use a string buffer to read through our input or buffer reader. And this is kind of a Java thing. So I probably won't go too much into it. I'll kind of explain what's going on. But if you guys want more information, just check out probably Bucky's Java series. I'm sure he has some more stuff within there. But I'll give you the basic concepts. So what we need to do is we need to set up our string buffer. So we're going to say string buffer, and we're going to say SB. We're going to set this equal to new string buffer, and we're just going to put make it pretty much null to start out with. So now what we need to do is we also need to set up a line. So we're going to say string line for L, or L for line, and we're just going to set this also equal to be nothing to start with. And we also want to set up basically a new line type string, because we don't want all of our data just in a paragraph where it's hard to read. So we're just going to say like new line in L, and we're going to set this equal to be the system dot get property, and there's string properties that we can refer to. We're going to refer to one called line dot separator. So that's just going to separate our lines. And now what we need to do is kind of like when we are processing data or receiving data, we're going to use a while loop to read all of our data and put it within our string buffer. So we're just going to create a while loop, and we're going to say as long as our line is equal to our buffered reader dot read line, as long as there is a line available to read, we're gonna read that line. So then we go within outside that parentheses, and we're going to say as long as that is not equal to be null, we're going to basically read that specific line. So we're going to refer to our string buffer called SB, and we're just going to say append, which is basically going to return the value that we're reading. So we're going to say our line plus we want to add a new line when it's done reading that specific line. And that's going to loop through again, and as long as there's a line available it's not equal to null, it's going to append the next line and then create a new line, and do that over and over until it's read through the whole document. And then all we're going to do is we're going to close our buffer reader. So we're going to just say in close. This is pretty similar to when we were working with data. This is how we kind of refer to a string buffer, and then what we can do is we can set up our string buffer to equal a string of some sort. So again, we set up our string in the first tutorial of this get method called data. So all we're going to say is data is equal to our string buffer dot toString. And then all we're going to say is return our data. Because again, this class is looking for some kind of a return method that's going to return a string. So that's what we're going to return, is the data we get from our string buffer. And then we also need to add a catch clause or a finally statement. So we're just going to say finally, and we're going to say, and we're going to just make sure our buffered reader is closed. Again, we're just going to say if like in is not equal to null, which for the most part it should have already been closed, but if it wasn't closed, that's most likely means that it's still not equal to null. So we're just going to force close it. So we're just going to say again like try, and then in dot close, and then we're just going to return data as well, because hopefully we got some sort of data attached. And then also we're going to add a catch clause, and we're just going to say catch like an exception E, and then we're just going to print that to the stack trace. Again, we're pretty familiar with that. And there we go, we pretty much have everything set up. Now let's just kind of test this, make sure it works. So we're going to go back over to our HTTP example class, and all we're going to do is we're going to set up a new get method that we just created, EX. We're going to call this test, something like that, and this is going to be equal to new get method EX and then we can use that method. So we're going to say test, or we can set up a new string, maybe returned. And we're going to set this equal to our test dot, and we have that method we just created called get internet data, and that's what we're going to return to the string. And then we're just going to set our text view that we have set up to equal that string. So again, just HTTP stuff, and we're going to say dot set text to our new string that we just created called returned. And also we have to add a catch clause, a try and a catch around this, because again we're working with you know, an exception of some sort that could be thrown. So what we want to do is we also want to set this text within that catch clause as well. So then if it doesn't get set to anything, we know we have some sort of error as well. Just always good to keep that in mind of how our application runs and if it's actually working. So we're just going to run our application, and we're going to go down to our HTTP example, click that, and hopefully our text view, and see our text view already changed the data. And this is kind of the stuff that we get back. As you can see, you know, and we can also break this down, which we'll get into later, but as you can see, it's kind of nicely structured of the information that's being passed in through our website. Again, I had that scroll view just for this reason, so we can scroll through here and kind of see some of the stuff like keywords, the meta name, just some of the background stuff of the website that we can read and process and access some of that information. But that's pretty much it for the get method using the HTTP client. We'll get into, again, that Twitter, just like kind of breaking down some code a little bit better using JSON in the next few tutorials. But just to give you guys kind of idea how to get some information with that get method through our HTTP client, that's how you do so. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next tutorial.